Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to Postgrad Insights UK Festival Week. Today, in association with the University of Surrey, but the week will be seen by thousands of people from around the world, all interested in postgraduate study. The expertise and the specialists from this week will come from various different universities, ranging from the University of Surrey to the University of Swansea, with different fields of subjects such as performing arts and agriculture throughout the week. Now, if you do have any issues or any questions throughout the week in any of these sessions, including today's, please put it in the chat facility at the top. There will be a Q&A at the end of every presentation from every university and every expert. So please do put your questions in there, along with any questions that you might have. Please send them through to myself before any session, Gareth@postgradsolutions.com. Also, as well, this is going to be recorded and it will be on demand. So if you do miss anything, or if you're a late starter, or if you're in a different time zone to when this is going to be convenient, please do head over to the Postgrad Insights channel on postgrad.com. We will also be sending you an email. So a little bit of information about what today we'll focus on, along with the festival week itself. Top 10 reasons to study in the UK. We would just brush over exactly the reasons why you should come to the UK to study. The University of Surrey, Rebecca and Matt will be explaining a little bit more about why you should come to Surrey to study your postgraduate courses. A bit about postgrad.com after the Q&A session, and an opportunity for you to win £500 off your tuition costs, in addition to any funding you have applied for. And we'll also go through the upcoming Postgrad Insights via UK Festival Week. So the top 10 reasons to study in the UK, there's world-class institutions, none least more than University of Surrey today. Ideal place to learn English, to study an English course. Fantastic opportunity to live in major cities, on beaches. You're never further away than 2 or 3 hours to a beach. And you're never further than 1 hour away from a major city such as London, Manchester, or Birmingham. There are amazing opportunities to be involved in sports, to view sports, very sports orientated country, very welcoming, cosmopolitan friendly country as well, including the major cities, which can be a bit daunting. But today's sponsors, the University of Surrey, do sit on the outskirts of London, really. Very nice place, but I'll let them go through more detail about that and why you should go to study there. So at this stage, rather than me go on about studying in the UK, I'd like to hand over to Rebecca and Matt, who are recruitment experts at the University of Surrey. Matt, Rebecca, over to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see our presentation okay. So hi, my name's Becky and I work at the University of Surrey here in the United Kingdom. And I'm joined by my colleague Matt, who also works here at the University of Surrey, and we're both based here in the UK. So we're going to take you through sort of postgraduate study and what that actually looks like in practice here at the University of Surrey. But our presentation, we're going to have a quick agenda first. So we're going to have a look at postgraduate study here at the University of Surrey. Then we're going to have a look at the different study options that you can consider and things that you have to kind of think about before you actually make that application. We'll also have a look at that in the context of your university experience, because obviously going to university is a great opportunity to get that academic qualification, but there's lots of other things to think about as well, because you're more than likely going to be moving to that country and really thinking about the sort of social life and university experience that you really want to get from your postgraduate study abroad. Then Matt will take you through how to apply for postgraduate study and specifically how to apply here at the University of Surrey. And we'll also touch upon fees, funding, and the next steps and top tips for your postgraduate application. So just to give you an overview of the University of Surrey postgraduate study. So we have just over 2,500 students currently studying with us on a postgraduate taught subject. We also have just over 1,000 students currently doing PhDs with us or postgraduate research. So we have quite a large population of our 17,000 students who are doing that postgraduate education. We have over 170 active research areas across the university. And if you're really interested in this, I really highly recommend you look at our website and look at all those really interesting research areas. When you have a look at the makeup of our postgraduate students, 51% of our students actually come from outside of the UK. So we have a really thriving international body here at the University of Surrey. We actually have 140 different nationalities represented. And if you look at it as a whole, if you include our undergraduate, we have 37% of students from outside of the UK, which compared to other universities across the UK is actually a really, really high figure. So there's a really thriving international community going on here at the University of Surrey. Also, for our postgraduate students, 26% of them are actually studying their postgraduate degrees with us as a part-time option. So lots of our programs do offer that part-time study option, and you can see which ones by looking at our website and having a look at each course and just looking at the top sort of banner just to see what the different study options are. But also at the University of Surrey, we do have a doctoral college, and we also have our researcher development program, which is really designed to support students in sort of the guise of virtual webinars, one-to-one sessions, to really sort of build up that research skills, research development, to really help our students excel in the chosen subjects that they are interested in. Now, when it comes to the subjects that we offer here at the University of Surrey, we have three main faculties. So we have the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, the Faculty of Engineering and Physical Sciences, and also the Faculty of Health and Medical Sciences as well. And underneath these three headings, you can see a list of the different subject areas that we offer here at the University of Surrey at a postgraduate level. Now, this is by no means a kind of exhaustive list of everything that we offer. And for example, within our business management faction, we actually have lots of different kind of specializations in sort of business management areas. So things like business analytics or the MBA, for example. So do have a look on our website to have a look at those kind of very specialized courses. But this is just to give you a general overview. If we were to list every course, it would be quite a few slides. So we've kind of condensed it down into one slide for you. But we do highly recommend, if there's any sort of subjects that you're interested in, to really delve a bit deeper on our website. But now I'm just going to talk through the different study options to consider. And this is really to help you with your research when you're thinking about which course you want to apply for and what all the different acronyms mean and the things you really kind of need to look at. So the first question we can ask ourselves is, why would you want to study a postgraduate degree program? You've done your undergraduate, so why would you want to sort of take another year or another 2 years, or even 3 or 4 years if you want to go into PhD level? When you go into postgraduate study, usually the courses, as I said before, are so much more specialized. So you might have done a business management degree program in your undergraduate, but you really, really enjoyed that digital marketing aspect of your business management program. And you feel like your undergraduate perhaps didn't give you enough of that, and you want to learn more, and you want to become a real subject specialist in that specific area. Postgraduate study will allow you to do that. So you can really, really hone in on a really specific area that you're interested in. And usually with postgraduate study, they're usually cutting edge, and it's usually the stuff that's really happening in the here and now. So for example, at Surrey, we do a postgraduate degree in business analytics, which really looks at that big data question, especially with social media and everything and all that data that's sort of flying around out there at the moment. It's a really cutting edge degree program that is kind of very much in the here and now and in the context of today. So it's a really good opportunity to really accelerate into a specific subject specialism. Also, if you've done a degree program that is very, very general, and you really want to sort of change direction slightly, so say you did a program in mechanical engineering and you were going off down one track, but actually you kind of changed your mind and you want to sort of go into something that is similar but on a slightly different way, you could do that in a postgraduate degree program. Just remember to look at those all important entry requirements when you are going to apply. It's also your opportunity to really engage in a sort of a much deeper way with leading professional people in that specific area, especially if you want to go into PhD study and you want to become a researcher and an academic. Also, you'll have the opportunity to manage and complete a dissertation, and it will also add to your general soft skills as well. So those transferable skills that are all important no matter what job you go into, whether it be teamwork, leadership, communication, working to a deadline, it all contributes to those skills that you will build up that will help you in your future career and your life outside of your career as well. So it's really, really important before you start doing that research into postgraduate study to really think about what is it that's going to suit you. Because in the UK, there are so many options. When you start doing your research into the different courses that are available, you'll probably be quite overwhelmed. There's a lot to choose from. And there are a few that have sort of different acronyms that some people are like, what does that actually mean? So we'll quickly run through that now. So hopefully when you're doing your research, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what that means. So an MA is a Master of Arts. So if you're looking at a program, say in English literature or in the performing arts, for example, you're more than likely going to be looking at a program that is, say, acting MA, which basically means that that is the qualification you will get at the end of your degree. Your postgraduate degree is a Master of Arts. For those of you who are already thinking ahead, MSc is Master of Science. MUS is actually Master of Music. There's also the MFA, which is the Master of Fine Arts. You can also see an MEng, which is a Masters of Engineering. So there's quite a few different ones. So really thinking about what sort of qualification you actually want to get at the end, and going from there. There's also the MBA, which is the Masters of Business Administration, which is something we do offer here at the University of Surrey, and it is an extremely popular program. We do tend to find international students really love this program, and that is something that we do offer here. So really think about what qualification you want to get, what the different qualifications mean. You might find that there are some politics courses, for example, where at some universities it comes under a Masters of Arts, and some universities it's a Masters of Business, a Master of Science. So really, thinking about what those differences are and what you really want to get from that, and really ask the universities in question what you're going to get from that actual program, and do your research on the module listing on the university websites. Also thinking about what suits you best. Is a full-time master's more sort of convenient for you, or is a part-time master's more convenient for you? We tend to find students who are doing part-time perhaps have childcare responsibilities, or perhaps they're working alongside their degree program. Obviously, if you do a part-time program, that will be split over 2 years usually, and a full-time is usually just 1 year. But really think about what would suit you best. And also something else that we're really proud to say we can do here in the UK is really look at the flexibility of the programme. And on screen here, we have kind of how it looks at the University of Surrey. So we have, for all of our courses, we have an October, late September, early October start for our courses, and that usually runs through till May if you're doing a full-time program with us. And that comprises of 8 modules of core and elective modules that to really help you tailor make your degree in the way that you want it to go. Then June to September is really the time for that big all-important dissertation and research project. Some of our courses also start in February as well, and this is a really popular option for a lot of students from overseas to start in February. Not all of our courses start in February, but it's worthwhile just having a look to see which ones do. During your time with us, you'll also be allocated a personal tutor, and there'll be lots of extra support should you need it for your program, and to help you with that kind of next level up from your undergraduate degree style. When it comes to teaching style at the University of Surrey, we like to keep it diverse. We like to keep it interesting. So you'll have a mixture of tutorials, lectures, seminars, practical sessions, and also one-to-one sessions as well, as including that all-important independent learning, which I'm sure you're very, very aware of from your undergraduate degree program. And assessments can take many forms as well. So looking at things like exams, continuous assessment, coursework, sort of interview sort of style things. If you're doing performance-based degree program, clearly in your end of year performances or end of term performances. So really think about what you want to get from it, and when you want to start, and how flexible you want the degree to be, and really think about those elective modules as well, because not all business management programs at all universities are going to be the same. They are going to look very, very different, and it's usually in those elective modules where these programs can really differ. So think about what you really want to get from a program, and then find a university course that really suits you, because as I said, there's a lot of option out there. And now, just to finish off from me, I'm going to talk through just the university experience. So outside of the academic, Other things you might want to consider when you are thinking of applying to UK universities. So where in the UK do you want to be? Do you want to be up north? Do you want to be closer to the coast? Do you want to be, as Gareth mentioned earlier, do you want to be right in the centre of a city, or are you kind of happy being on the outskirts of a city in the beautiful green area like we are here in Surrey? And if you can see mine and Matt's backgrounds, we are close to London, but we also are in an area of outstanding natural beauty. We have a beautiful lake on campus. I'll show you some pictures in a second, but really think about where you want to be and how close to those local amenities you want to be. Do you want to be right in the centre of it, or do you want to be in the middle of nowhere? So really think about that as well, and also where your nearest transport links are. So here at Surrey, we're 34 minutes into London, and we're conveniently located between Gatwick and Heathrow Airport as well. So really think about that. Do you want to be on a campus, or do you want to be based in a city? Now in the UK, there's this debate versus campus versus city, which one's better? At the University of Surrey, we are a campus-based university, and this picture on screen is just to highlight what that looks like. So, so all of your accommodation, local amenities, and obviously your academic side of things are all in one place on one campus. If this was a city-based, like lots of London-based universities, your lecture building might be next to a theatre, which is next to the high street that you're going to go down, and then you have to walk 10 minutes to your next lecture theatre, which could be, or it could be a tube ride away, for example. So really thinking about what you want to get from that experience. Also, it's really worthwhile considering accommodation. Not all universities can guarantee accommodation, and not all universities have accommodation. Do you want your accommodation to be next door to your academic buildings, or are you happy with a 30-minute bus ride? So these are things that you really need to think about so you can put it into your research. Here at the University of Surrey, we actually have 3 sites for accommodation, and some of them are literally from your bedroom window, you can see your university lecture theatre. So it's really, really convenient. So just thinking about that side of things as well. And also really to think about your well-being as well. So if you know that you might need some extra support, or you might need some support from our neurodiversity team, what can they offer you? Most universities will allow you to contact the university's disability and neurodiversity team before you even apply to the university to see what support you can actually get. And I highly recommend that you do that if you're in that position. If you are on a campus-based university, you'll usually find that there is 24-hour warden and security team. What's the student support services look like? How can they help you? Also at Surrey, we also have a chaplaincy for all faiths and none as well, and also personal tutors as well. So just thinking about what you need to help make your experience at university the best it can be. Another really important aspect is clubs and societies. So here at the University of Surrey, we have about 180 different clubs and societies that are open for postgraduate students to join by all means, and PhD students and undergraduate students. It's kind of for everybody to really get involved. So this could be anything from a sport club and society to things like the Harry Potter Society or the Wine and Cheese Society, for example. So really thinking about what sort of things you really enjoy doing at home and what you would like to take with you to university. It's a great way to make friends as well and meet like-minded people. And also as well, if you're interested in your sport and fitness, thinking about where your local gym is and other local amenities that you might be really interested in. So for example, if you love going to the cinema, is there a cinema nearby? You know, you shouldn't have to not have these things that you enjoy at home when you come to university. And at Surrey, we have a great Surrey Sports Park. It was a £36 million investment for the university a couple of years ago. It has a 50-metre swimming pool and a massive gym. It has a climbing centre if you're interested in rock climbing, loads of indoor and outdoor pitches, squash courts, and a Starbucks if you know you go to the gym but actually don't want to go and then just go and get a coffee instead. So lots of fun things to do there. I'm now going to just play a video if it will play, so hopefully it will. And this is just sort of a kind of example of like what our students think of postgraduate study here at Surrey. And then I'll hand back over to Matt to take you through the application process.
Thanks, Becky. Good to see you all, and thank you all for taking the time to come and join this webinar today. It's really good to see so many students interested in studying in the UK and hopefully here at the University of Surrey. So as Becky said, I'm just going to talk through the next couple of steps, which are how to apply. So a pretty important part in your journey to the UK. And then finally, fees and funding. So really encourage you, as we have had already, keep those questions coming in. We'll also have a short Q&A session after the end of the presentation. Cool. So obviously a very important first step in once you've done your research into the course or the institution that you think you'd like to study at is to check your entry requirements. So taking Surrey as a really indicative example, but it will differ between different institutions in the UK. But what we essentially look for a master's is we ask for you to have studied a UK bachelor's degree or equivalent. So obviously, many of you being international students will have completed a bachelor's degree in your home country. So these are all recognized. We've worked really hard to get equivalent classifications and entry requirements for degrees from all manner of countries across the world. So the expert team here at Surrey and every university in the UK will be able to advise you what we would ask for from your particular bachelor's degree. So in the UK, we ask for a 2-1 or a 2-2. Again, that might not mean much to you, to be honest. It's quite an unusual system. It's quite different to many countries across the world. So do pay attention to the entry requirements page on either a course page, a specific program page, or your country page on the Surrey University website. Will have equivalent kind of graphs and tables to help you understand what we expect and ask of you. So first of all, really important to determine the level of bachelor's degree you need to have achieved from your home country. In some cases, this might differ depending on the institution you graduated from. So if it's not clear, just really encourage you to get in touch with us if you're interested in Surrey or your relevant institution's international team. It's also really important, as well as the overall score, to consider the background. So again, this will differ from university to university, but on the course page at Surrey, it will very clearly state the type of bachelor's degree that we ask for in order to be eligible for a particular master's degree. So you need to consider the overall grade and the subject that you've studied in previously. So as you see here, some courses require relevant studies. So general courses, for example, your business management, perhaps marketing, those type of courses typically, and again, using Surrey as a fairly indicative example, but do check, any particular course you're interested in, these typically don't require a very specific background. So they welcome students from many different specialisms and backgrounds. However, if you're looking at a course, obviously Becky showed us that list of all of our subject areas earlier in the presentation. You'll have seen subjects there such as engineering or veterinary medicine, for example, nutrition. These typically science-based courses do require some relevant background. For example, data science, we would expect you to have studied mathematics, physics, computing, for example. Again, these can be fairly wide-ranging, so do check the course pages. Some courses will have fairly niche requirements, some will have more general requirements. So it does differ on a course-by-course basis. If you don't specifically meet these through your bachelor's study, however, we can accept work experience. So obviously, a master's degree can often attract more mature students. Perhaps you graduated a number of years ago who have been working and are looking to kind of enhance your knowledge and perhaps progress in your industry via a master's degree. So do get in touch if you're not sure, but we can consider relevant work experience. And this is in conjunction with your bachelor's as well. So there's many different ways you can meet our entry requirements. And then thirdly, understandably so, we do accept or do require, evidence of your English language ability. So if you're an international student, do check our website. There's a really long list of the qualifications that we accept to meet this evidence of English language. Typically, students will provide an IELTS test. just an indicative kind of level we ask for is 6.5 overall for most courses. But once again, do pay really close attention, as this does differ from course to course. Equally, again, really recommend you look at that website, because if you're from particular countries that the UK deems to have particularly good quality English language teaching, we often can waive IELTS or an additional language test based on studying English at a particular level in your country. So not every student is required to submit an additional English language test. Again, if you're not sure, just get in touch with us, your regional representative at Surrey or relevant institution. And then finally, if you're looking for a PhD, we typically would ask for a relevant master's. The website can be quite general here, actually, and say things like a good master's or like a kind of high bachelor's degree. This is because PhD study, there's a lot more to it in terms of those specialisms, your particular research focus. So providing you have a good master's or excellent bachelor's degree, you can normally be considered for a PhD. Next step is, how do you apply? So unlike undergraduate courses, you might be kind of familiar with the process to study an undergraduate program in the UK. There's no central system. So UCAS is the system used by UK universities to accept undergraduate applications. However, at master's level and all postgraduate levels, including PhDs, universities will accept applications directly. So via the relevant website, you can apply to each institution you're interested in, and for each course that interests you to apply to. So in our case, just head to the course page of the relevant course, for example, data science, and you'll see an apply button there. You can't miss it. So applications typically open, if you're looking at a September intake, a year in advance. So for example, if you're considering joining us in September 2022, applications are now open for these courses. So head over there as soon as you're ready. And as Becky illustrated, we do also have a February intake. So for those looking to apply for February 2022 courses, they are equally open, and the deadline for those will be in mid-December of this year. So either way, you have plenty of time, but particularly for those February 2022 students, those of you who might be interested in that intake, do consider those deadlines and make sure you're on top of what you need to do. Essentially apply early. A lot of students ask me, Matt, is there a kind of first comes first system? Like, is there a benefit in applying early? In terms of academic and admissions, no, there's no first come first serve basis, but equally to give yourself that extra time and flexibility to provide any documents or just have peace of mind that everything's in hand, we always recommend to apply early, particularly if you're coming from abroad and will need to apply for a visa. We often encounter these kind of issues, visa centers seem to sometimes have problems. So we always recommend applying early, just for that peace of mind and to get the ball rolling as soon as possible. Perfect. So as I said, to physically apply for a course at Surrey and most other UK universities, you would simply head to their websites, their course pages, and choose that option. But what do we then ask for you in order to submit your application? So you'll see on the list there, the 9 points that we typically ask for. It's fairly standard piece of information, your personal details. At Surrey, and again, most universities I imagine would do this, but we'd ask for your passport. This would be used to deem your residency and fee status criteria, for example. Contact addresses, both for your home and next of kin, your family, in the event of any contact requirements for contact. Academic history. So as we discussed, we'd ask you for evidence of your bachelor's degree or equivalent. So typically we ask for your certificate, your bachelor's certificate, and your transcript. So this would be used by admissions to determine your eligibility. If your documents aren't in English, for example, we would also ask for a translation. Again, we also mentioned that we can consider work experience. So do include any employment history, any relevant kind of work experience you have can be really useful. Obviously, funding options, as I said, we do use this to deem your kind of feed criteria. So if you have any scholarships or sponsorships from any bodies in your home country, to include those as well. We also ask for a personal statement. So this would be a simple 1 or 2 page statement illustrating the reasons why you want to study this course, and ideally at Surrey in particular. So we're looking for that kind of spark, that bit of passion that you should try and illustrate as to why this is the option for you. This is used by admissions, particularly in really popular courses, to kind of determine students' eligibility alongside their kind of academic ability as well. We also can sometimes ask for academic references. This perhaps wouldn't be in all courses, but in particularly niche courses, we do ask for academic references. You can submit work references as well, but particularly if you don't have that academic, especially fine. So they might be in contact with your references just to see their opinion on you as a student and your suitability for this course. And then essentially that's kind of all you need to submit, and then smash that submit button and you're good to go. So after that, it typically can take maybe 2 to 4 weeks for our admissions team to kind of assess all of this and give you an offer. That's right. So I preempted this one. So important things to remember, there is no one central system, such as UCAS at undergraduate level. It will be on a university by university basis. Apply to them directly. Again, we mentioned some deadlines there. For example, December for February entry, and it's normally July for September entry in terms of an application deadline. But unlike undergraduate, where universities normally adhere to the same deadlines, this can be different. So each university will be different. So don't assume that all universities will have a similar kind of mid-December deadline as we do. So if you're applying to multiple universities, do pay attention to their respective deadlines. Next is Surrey is definitely free to apply to. There's no cost to submit an application. But again, while the majority will be similarly free, do check, as others may have a small application fee. What we do ask for is a deposit further down the line. So if you wish to kind of firmly accept your offer, kind of confirm your place, we would ask for a £2,000 deposit. But at point of application, it's completely free. And again, definitely remember to research all the modules on offer, find out course information. So as Becky kind of touched upon in the first section, taking business management as a kind of overarching degree title, for example, that's a general title. Many universities will teach that. But how do you discern those differences between the expertise at various institutions? You do that by heading to the course page, checking out the course structure, the modules. Surrey website is extremely good at this. Again, I imagine most universities do have a similar level of detail, but we go into tons of detail about each module, what you're going to study, what's the kind of academic outcomes of each module, the assessment modes, for example. And this is the way to kind of understand those differences, the academic expertise that each institution offers, and what it is you'll be doing on a day-by-day basis. It's really important. So definitely do your research when looking to make an application. So the decision process, as I said, it can usually take kind of 4 weeks, but of course, we do aim to get these sorted as quickly as possible. But obviously at this busy time of year, it can take around 4 weeks. So a lot of students also come to me and assume that they need to have all of the documents, everything lined up at point of application. That's not the case. And there's 3 different types of decisions that admissions can offer you. First of all is unconditional. So this means you've been offered a place without conditions. So for example, if you had graduated 2 years ago, have been working, took an English language test and got your results last week, applied today, in theory, and met all the requirements, you could receive an unconditional offer. We do not expect anything more from you to prove your eligibility for this course. But typically students haven't got everything lined up. You apply during your last year of your bachelor's, you plan ahead with your English language test, for example. In that case, we'd offer you a conditional offer. So this means you've been offered a place, but subject to certain criteria being kind of met. Typically, this would be English. So most students plan ahead with their IELTS test and would be required to kind of submit English at a later date. The other kind of more common one, equally common one, is students applying prior to graduation. So you can simply submit your transcripts, your final grades and bachelor's documentation further before the deadline. So that would be a conditional offer. And then the third type, unfortunately, would be a rejection. Unfortunately, not all students do prove eligible for their desired course. So there are some students that unfortunately do receive a rejection, but equally that means you can take that on board and look for alternative opportunities at other institutions. Either way, whatever decision is made, you do receive emails from us and you get access to your applicant portal. This is kind of the up-to-date system that we use to communicate with you. If in the case of a conditional offer, for example, we say, this is subject to conditions of English, here's your deadline, the applicant portal would be where you would later upload the evidence you've met that criteria and that condition. We sometimes ask for additional documents as well, particularly if you're an international student. Sometimes the documents aren't quite what we're looking for or quite right. So we sometimes see admissions asking for additional documents, additional proofs of various aspects of the application. That's completely normal, but this is all handled via our applicants portal. So it's really important if you do apply to Surrey, do kind of keep refreshing that, keep an eye on that on a kind of daily, weekly basis, just to see if admissions have been in touch. This is the best way to kind of ensure kind of smooth process throughout the entire process. Okay, cool. So I know there's quite a few questions come in about fees, funding, and next steps. So this will be the final aspect of this presentation today. So yeah, obviously it's a major consideration for all of you guys and all students coming to the UK. Funding is a real fundamental aspect of this. So you'll notice on the fees and funding page for each respective course, you'll often see two prices listed for UK and overseas students, for example. So if you're a UK student, standard fees, and that's quite a wide range you can see there, from 6,400, for example, to 27,000. That's typical range, but quite a wide range. So depending on the location of the university, the type of course, there's a really wide range on offer. And for postgraduate research, so kind of PhD courses, they can start from around £4,000. Now, if you're an international student, the range is similarly wide, but starts at a bit of a higher rate, looking from about 16,000 all the way up to £26,000. As I mentioned, what we do to deem if you're eligible for UK or international fees is to assess your passport, assess your application, and if we're not sure, we can offer something called a fee status questionnaire, where if you're not sure, if you qualify for UK fees, for example, you can fill in some details, we can check this for you. So for international students, a PhD typically costs around 16,500 to about £22,000. Again, this will differ quite drastically in many cases from university to university, so do pay close attention to the course pages of your desired course. Scholarships is an equally important topic and questions often asked by international students around scholarships. So in the case of Surrey, head over to our scholarships pages and there's many kind of calculators. You can select the filters that apply to you and it will show the options available to you. So currently we have a kind of domicile country-based scholarship for master's students. So wherever you're from, head over there, see if you're eligible. But as my colleague put in the chat box earlier, here at Surrey, we're currently in the process of reviewing our scholarship offering. So do check back regularly, as there could well be updates in the coming weeks. In terms of PhD students at postgraduate research level, there are a number of studentships on offer. So studentships are kind of particular areas of research that we have a need for a student to fill. So those can often receive stipends and some quite generous scholarships. So do check there to see if any of those happen to be the area that you're interested in. So again, just remember to apply early and check those deadlines. And particularly in the case of master's scholarships, keep checking the pages at respective institutions, including Surrey, as scholarships are kind of an ever evolving and changing picture. So if you're not eligible for something now, there could well be something in the near future. Cool, so we're approaching the end. So finally, just some top tips from us and on how to choose a master's degree. Of course, number one is choosing the right course. So how do you do that? Tons of research is kind of the answer. Attending webinars like today, meeting universities directly at events or one-on-one sessions. A kind of pre-pandemic, universities would travel around the world, meeting students at events, which is a really fantastic way for you to firstly meet us and ask us those questions you have. But kind of something positive that's come out of the pandemic is we're now even more visible. So obviously we're hoping to return to face-to-face in-country activity, but for all of us at Surrey, where whoever your respective regional representative is, you can always book one-on-one calls with us at a time to suit you. That includes myself and Becky. So that's a really great way to get a fairly immediate answer to any questions you have. So choosing the right course. So asking us, doing your research on the website, really, really important. As I mentioned, discerning the differences via the course structure tab on the University of Surrey's website is the best kind of way to do it, I think. Lots of information there and a good way to determine those differences between Surrey and other universities. Second would be to check your entry requirements. Obviously, we don't want you to waste your time in applying if unfortunately you don't end up being eligible. So really important to check the entry requirements tab on each course page. Equally, if you do book a call with one of the team, they're very happy to talk through those entry requirements, give you a kind of informal assessment whether you'd be eligible. So we can hopefully give you a fairly strong answer at that time. Thirdly, will be apply soon. As I said, there is no first come, first serve basis. That's not the case. However, giving yourself as much time as possible to meet your conditions, process your visa can be really advantageous. Provide all documentation required. Admissions ask for numerous pieces of documents. Most importantly, the bachelor's transcript and certificates. So we've talked through what we ask for today. So ideally have those things lined up at point of application. And then finally, pay your deposit and apply for your accommodation. Really important is to take note of these deadlines. As Becky mentioned, we do kind of guarantee accommodation for most students coming from overseas, but this would be subject to applying before the deadline, for example. So it's really important to take note of those. Equally with your deposit, this is a way to firmly accept your offer, but really important to consider the deadlines and to get that done ahead of that. Perfect. So we do have some subject-specific postgraduate webinars coming up over the next couple of weeks into the middle of November. So these will have representatives from the recruitment team. You might see myself or perhaps Becky at these again. But most importantly, they are hosted in conjunction with academics from these respective departments. So Becky and myself, we cover the whole university, but it's really useful to get insights and expert opinions from the teachers themselves via these webinars. So these are great opportunities to ask questions, really Q&A based format about hopefully a subject you're interested in. So you'll see all the options there. My colleagues just posted the link on how to register, but really hope to see you there. A great opportunity to gain even further insights into studying at Surrey. And finally, some kind of images here just to show our students, our international ambassadors, some of the reasons they chose Surrey. Our friend here on the left, he's mentioned the vibe of a small town. As Becky spoke, we're based in Guildford, but very close to London, many international students and close to a big city. So Tiago, that's a great quote, Tiago, I love that one. Sadhana said offered a unique course in terms of her interest in environmental psychology. And then finally, Cheryl because of our global professional training opportunities. So these are kind of indicators of the various virtues and advantages you have at Surrey. So do consider us for your postgraduate study, and we hope to be able to answer your questions in the next Q&A session. So as I said, and my colleagues sending many links in the chat box, but do keep the questions coming in. Becky and I will be here for a few, next few minutes to answer any questions you have. Thank you, guys.
Very insightful idea on not just about Surrey, but about application processes all around UK now. Many questions have come in, which I'm keen to get through quickly. I'm aware that obviously we're a bit short on time, but we will ask 7 or 8 questions. Now, the first question comes from me, really. We get asked this question quite a lot over the last few weeks with regards to university application dates and coming over to the UK. You mentioned that obviously you've got a strong contingent from international countries. What are you doing at the moment in terms of helping those students if they're from what we would call typically a red list country, a closed country? And do they have to isolate? I appreciate, I don't want to get into the political side of things, and obviously the government guidelines too much, they can look themselves, but what are you doing to help, and how do you make sure that student still feels welcome?
Great. Should I take this one, Becky? So yeah, it's a great question. Fortunately, the red list has greatly reduced in the last couple of weeks. So hopefully the majority of you will now not be subject to those restrictions. However, if you are coming from a red list country, you're required to isolate in the hotel, the kind of official government hotel. But as you obviously have the 10 days that you're there, but what we offer then is a pickup service, kind of a meet and greet style service from the hotel if you're arriving from one of our typical entry points. So students who arrive directly to the UK and are not required to quarantine can apply for the meet and greet service. And essentially, this is also extended to students from red list countries post quarantine. So in terms of supporting them, once they arrive at the university, obviously once they've completed the quarantine, they're free to kind of enter the university and live like normally, which is great. So for students previously who were required to quarantine in accommodation, we worked really hard to provide a kind of isolation buddy. So someone who would kind of get their food and help them process any testing requirements, for example. Obviously the student can't go out, so having someone on the outside there to help you was really important. So hopefully those don't return, those kind of restrictions. We don't see those return. But in the event you come from a red list country, at the time you arrive, there's still such a requirement. Do get in touch with our international support team. We're obviously aware of students coming from these areas as well, so we will be reaching out to you with the various support networks.
Excellent. And just keeping on the theme of location and whatnot. Now, I've been to Surrey, I've been to Guildford, I know where it's located myself. Becky, you mentioned earlier on about the things you can do while you're at the university, the different social clubs and things to do, from Wine and Cheese Society, which sounds fantastic, may I add, all the way to like a Harry Potter kind of theme if you wanted it. What else is there to do in Guildford? How far are you from London? Is it accessible? Are there trains and whatnot? Because I know, but many international students probably have never heard of Guildford. So just put it on the map a little bit for students.
Absolutely. I grew up in Guildford. I'm Guildford born and bred, so I know it.
Do better.
I know it, yeah. So yeah, I mean, even students based in the UK sometimes have never heard of Guildford. So like if I'm up in Manchester, I might speak to a student and they're like, where's Surrey? So we are about 34 to 35 minutes south of London Waterloo. And it's a direct train directly up into London, and you can be in Covent Garden, Leicester Square within the hour. So it's really, really convenient for that. But when it's actually looking at Guildford, Guildford's a large town. It's actually a huge town in the sort of southeast of the UK, and we're about an hour away from Portsmouth, which is down if you go straight down towards the coast. But when it comes to sort of what you can do in Guildford, there's lots of shops and bars and restaurants, and the town is actually a 10-minute walk away from the university, so you haven't even got to get a bus, and you can if you want, but you can just walk into town. It's kind of like you go from the campus to the railway station and straight into the town, and you're right there. But as I said, so there's shops and bars and restaurants. There's a huge Odeon cinema. There's also ice skating, bowling, and sort of other sort of recreational activities you can do that. I think there's air hop as well. So like loads in those supermarkets, you can really be quite picky about where you want to go and get your shopping. There's the Surrey Sports Park, but if you don't want to go there and you want to go to, say, a smaller gym or a gym that has, say, more classes, there's lots of gym opportunities as well. But because we are in that outstanding area of natural beauty, like that where we are based kind of has that, it's like an official kind of title of the area that we're in. If you're really someone who just wants to get out into nature and you just want to go for a bike ride, you want to go horse riding, you want to go for a lovely walk, there's so much opportunity to do that as well. So it kind of is the best of both worlds. And I would go up to London for to go to the theatre, or go out and meet my friends for a Sunday lunch kind of up in London. So, and you get back really, really quickly. So yeah, and I think Emily's just posted our blogs, and it really gives a great insight into Surrey and student life here. It's by no means boring, believe me, there's loads going on. But if you just want to have a chill out by the lake and not do anything, by all means, go for it. But you can there's something always going on. And we have a nightclub on campus as well. We have restaurants on campus. There's an amazing Chinese restaurant on campus, may I just say. Lots of coffee shops as well. So yeah, so you can stay on campus and do stuff. You can go off campus.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. And just touching on the the lifestyle as well. Presumably, because you're outside of London, it's a lot more affordable with the accommodation and stuff. Obviously, I know myself, I've lived in London, it can be very expensive. But if you go to the outskirts, 40 minutes to an hour away, it can be a lot more affordable and accessible to London as well. So is that a huge factor for you guys?
Yeah, it is more affordable than London, believe me. And also it's more affordable as well because you're a student. So Guildford is a student city or a student town. So there is a lot going on for students. So compared to how I find it as not being a student, students find it a lot cheaper than I would find it, because there's always student deals on. Most of the shops will give student discounts. There's sort of special student evenings where things are cheaper, the cinema's cheaper. Because you've got those amenities on campus, there's so much going on. We also have, because we're right by a town, we also have opportunities for students to get work, part-time work, should they want to work at all. We have a really great ambassador scheme, which a lot of international students will apply for. So yeah, and there's also sort of specific times at the local supermarket where you can get food a lot cheaper, and it's specifically really for students. And the gym is like literally a third of the price for students. So compared to me and Matt, who aren't students, who live in this area, it's even cheaper for students. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes total sense. And I think that's important to remember. I think, university life can be very expensive. And if you go to an area where it's not too bad, in terms of affordability, you get student discounts, it plays a huge factor. And I would urge anyone to, have a look at the University of Surrey website, have a look at Guildford on Google, check it out, because it is a beautiful place, like you mentioned. Now, I've got a few questions around course specifics. I think we've covered, where it is and, what it is about Guildford that makes it so special. Now, do you guys accept the Duolingo English test? And if you do, and if you don't, what other tests are there, presumably like TOEFL, that you would accept?
Yes, we do currently accept Duolingo. It's one that's kind of consistently up for review. So if you're intending to apply using Duolingo, do keep on top of our website for any updates. I believe Duolingo might be releasing a kind of more academic version soon, though, which, hopefully we'd be able to accept. In terms of other online tests, TOEFL IBT is accepted. IELTS indicator is accepted. So yes, during the pandemic, obviously many students faced issues with finding test slots at their locality. Yeah. So yes, we started accepting many online tests. So if you head to the English language page on our website, there's a really long list of the various online tests that we accept, but other examples of the more traditional tests that we accept as well. So that could be from your high school English qualifications. In some countries we accept those, and the more traditional tests such as TOEFL, as you mentioned, IELTS, these kind of things. So yes, but it is a constantly evolving list. So do keep abreast of those kind of updates via our website, which my colleague has very helpfully just popped in the chat box.
Excellent. And as well, many apologies to anyone that's watching. We won't be able to get through to all the questions just because of the time restraints. But I will ask the most pressing ones in terms of they would like to know, do you do block delivery modes for MBAs? Presumably at the moment, because of COVID and the guidelines, it's a bit of blended learning, or is it all back to face-to-face?
Yeah, so we're going with what we call hybrid learning. I know other universities, there's like some universities are calling it blended hybrid, but we're doing everything that we can to do as much as we can in person. But obviously with big lectures where you might have a couple of hundred students in one room, that's not possible with social distancing. So some lectures might be kind of recorded, and then you can watch them at your own leisure online. But a lot of stuff is going to be in person as well, especially if you're looking to apply for something that's quite practical, like an engineering program where you're meant to be in like workshops, or biosciences where you're in the labs. We want to try and get those as much in person as possible, because those practical elements are best learned in person. So yeah, I know some universities kind of went very much with going completely online, but we are trying to do our best to try and get back in the most safest possible way to the teaching that it should be, which is in person.
Of course, and students want that as well. That's important to remember. Go on, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just because I noticed that question specifically asked about 90% and 10% in the UK. So it's really important, a piece of advice, particularly when looking at our website. And again, the terminology can differ between universities, but kind of noticing the difference between what we call part-time and distance learning. So the MBA does have a part-time option, but it would likely be more, basically, if we see part-time at Surrey at least, and again, I can't speak for other institutions, the assumption is you will be in the UK. So part-time can often mean a couple of hours a week rather than a full-time schedule, but it's still in person. So when looking at our website, there'll be some distance learning options, particularly in chemical engineering, and hospitality has an option as well. Those would be 100% online. So it's just really important, if you see part-time, the assumption and expectation will be you'll still be physically in the UK and available to attend perhaps once or twice a week, rather than a full-time program where you're in 5 days a week.
Matt, can I just ask about that? Because I think that's an important point. For the average student that doesn't understand, does it matter? Does it matter whether you do a face-to-face or whether you do distance learning? Will it impact on your career moving forward?
Does it matter? I guess no, but some people, I guess it goes to the point of life that you're at, and it's important in your home country. So, for example, some countries, governments don't accept online degrees from abroad as a fully fledged master's, for example, in which case coming face-to-face would be important. Otherwise, no, you still receive a full master's degree, be that distance learning or face-to-face. So in terms of that, I would suggest no. Obviously, a lot of students study a UK master's for more than the degree itself, the experiences of being in the UK around other international students and British students. So obviously that comes into it. But in terms of what you graduate with, you graduate with the same qualification. So in that case, I would suggest no. But it's important, for example, mainland China is one example of a country that doesn't recognize overseas online degrees, for example. So it's important to check that.
Excellent. And one final question then, and like I said, many apologies if we can't get around to your questions. They are being streamed in on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Around scholarships, it's a very popular theme, as you know. People will always want to get it as discounted as possible. What scholarships do you offer? Obviously there's the likes of Chevening and Marshall, which are government backed schemes, but what do you offer personally in terms of a university?
Yeah, I can take this one. So if you go onto our website, you'll be able to, obviously, as Matt said, you'll be able to filter and have a look. But we do have, obviously, if you are watching this and you're a current University of Surrey student, then we do have our sort of discount for Surrey graduates. And it doesn't matter if you graduated a few years ago, that is still an scholarship you can apply for. As Matt said, we do also have the Surrey International Masters Scholarship as well. That should be continuing in for 2022, and it lists a list of countries. I think it's 7 countries that we accept applications from. So if you go on and have a look at that and see if that's your country. We do also have a scholarship for kind of a sort of more subject specific as well, so an MBA one or women in leadership, and there are probably hopefully more coming. It's a case that they are in the last sort of moments of being discussed at a higher level than myself and Matt, and hopefully they will be updated in the next few weeks. But just to sort of make people in the audience aware, just because one university has a scholarship that say, you know, for where you're domiciled, and it might be an automatic scholarship, some universities might ask you to apply. So there might be sort of more merit-based. So you might need to actually write an application, and they look different from every single university. So it's really worthwhile perhaps making an Excel spreadsheet of the different universities that you're interested in and making a note of all the scholarships that you would be eligible for, the deadlines, but also what you need to do. Don't just sort of make an assumption that perhaps that they're just going to automatically be awarded to you, maybe based on your personal statement or your circumstances. Just make sure you read that, and usually you will find an email address attached to that scholarship. So if you have any questions, please just get in contact. Keep an eye on that scholarship page. I think it might have already been put in the chat, but if not, we can add it into the chat for you now.
Yeah, cool. Well, both of you, Matt, Becky, thank you very much. You know, we're going to have to call a halt there to the Q&A. There were more questions, but I'm just conscious of time and everybody watching. In the UK, it's half-term week for many students. So thank you very much. At this stage, you know, you can put your cameras off. We'll see you at the end and say thank you. Just a reminder that Matt and Becky are very accessible in terms of contacting them. If you do have any questions, we will be reaching out to you with their email addresses, or an email address certainly for the recruitment department that you can contact them on. And if you do have any questions or any issues, you've seen them today, you know, they're very knowledgeable, they know what they're talking about, whether it be about Surrey or whether it be about UK recruitment in general. So please reach out. But for now, thank you very much. In terms of the UK festival, and postgrad.com, so just a bit of information about us really. So we have helped over 10 million students find the perfect postgraduate program. We've been around for many years now, and we're the #1 UK postgraduate recruitment website. And also as well, from a European and a global perspective, we are huge. We've got a choice of over 200 countries for you to study at, ranging from all over the globe. Partnerships with high caliber international scholarship providers such as the Chevening and Marshall. We just had there from the University of Surrey a few scholarships that they may or may not offer, and it's important to remember the different requirements for different universities. So please head over to postgrad.com's website and you'll be able to get more information on there. You'll also be able to get information on the best accommodation, on visas, careers, English language support as well, and tests that was mentioned earlier, funding, subjects, and much, much more. Ultimately, we are the one-stop shop, everything postgrad related. Also there, information about the Postgrad Solution Studies bursaries that we offer. Who can apply for that? Anyone from anywhere. It doesn't affect any other funding. It's £500 that will add towards your tuition costs. It just helps during these very difficult times as well. Everybody is struggling during COVID, and you know, it's having a huge impact. So get over to postgrad.com, respond to the email that we'll send you later, and we'll add you to the list to win a £500 bursary. We have 20 out of those every year. So please head over, sign up, and we can see if we can help you. A bit of information about UK Festival Week and what we've got coming up. So tomorrow we have a performing arts special from a chap called Scott Bellamy. He's a recruitment specialist at the school. Wednesday we have an agriculture special with the Royal Agricultural University. Thursday, Swansea University are going to be doing a healthcare and medicine special. And Friday, finally, we wrap things up for the week with University of Wales, Trinity St David will be giving us an insight as to why you should come to Wales to study your postgraduate course. But for now, thank you very much. A huge thank you to Becky and Matt for not just giving up their time today, but for educating everybody live on the session. and in the future as well. If you do have any questions, please fire them at that email address there, gareth@postgradsolutions.com. The University of Surrey will reach out to you if you do apply or register for your details to be accepted. We will be sending out a link, as we did to everybody that registered for this session earlier on today, just asking you to input your details, and then the University of Surrey can contact you for further communications. But for now, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow for the Performing Arts Special. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.